This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Still waiting in line? Again? That's time you'll never get back. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Over 4 million businesses have skipped the line with Stamps.com. Join them to save up to 90% off carrier rates from your computer or phone right now. Print postage for certified mail, registered mail, and packages in seconds. Then schedule a pickup right from your home or office. For a limited time, go to Stamps.com and use code PODCAST for a free welcome gift. Taxes and fees apply.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Welcome, I am Jen, and we are here with Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza podcast. From the Republic of Kenya, he has established himself as a distinguished figure in the podcasting community, and his work has been recognized with the APVA and Texas Creator Awards, along with Afros and Audio Podcast Festival and the 2026 Podfest. Welcome, Sambaza.
Hey, Jen, what's up? How you doing? How was your week? How's everything going?
Doing pretty good. Welcome back for another show.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be an interesting show, and I'm loving it.
Great, for sure. And so and we have a really great guest for you guys. Before we introduce our guest and topic, Sambaza will share an affirmation.
Okay, the affirmation of the day says, I am growing at my own pace and appreciating the journey. Again, I'm growing at my own pace and I appreciate the journey.
Okay, thank you for sharing the affirmation. Let's see. Definitely can promote positive mental health behavior. So we definitely like to share an affirmation on our shows. And we will introduce our topic and then our guests. We will be exploring the extraordinary story of a gentleman who was sentenced to 241 years to prison at the age of 16. He ultimately was released, and he will share his incredible story. And so let's go ahead and introduce our guests at this time. Our next guest is a writer, a speaker, and returning citizen whose story has become a powerful example of resilience and second chances. Sentenced to 241 years in prison as a juvenile, he spent decades behind bars before being released in 2021 after a change in Missouri law that made him eligible for parole. His case drew national attention not only because of the severity of the sentence, but because a judge who sentenced him later became an advocate for his release. So today, our guests will share the journey about transformation, redemption, and using his voice to inspire others. Please welcome Mr. Bobby Bostic.
How y'all doing to the viewers?
Hey,
Yes,
welcome.
sir. Glad to have you with us. We appreciate you joining us today.
Okay, it's a blessing to be here and share my story with the people, with y'all followers.
You're
For
welcome.
sure. Absolutely.
I hear you're on transit and you're traveling. So am I. I usually travel. So last week I did travel to a country called Guinea-Bissau, and the capital is called Bissau. This is in Africa. It's one of the largest, its largest city and economic hub is called Bissau. Now, it's a former Portuguese colony, and Portuguese is the official language. What you just want to know about the food that they love eating is rice. They love a lot of rice, and then they're the only country that has saltwater hippos. Most hippos are usually on fresh water. Now we have a proverb. Bobby, we're gonna talk about this proverb, and then we'll ask you to interpret the proverb as the way you hear it, or what comes. The proverb of the day says, "By the time the fool has learned the game, the players have dispersed." the proverb says, "By the time the fool has learned the game, the players have dispersed." How do you interpret that proverb?
I interpret that proverb as a wise proverb because as the fool is learning the plays of the game, which the game can be life, right? By the
Mhm.
time we learn all things about life, life has moved on from what the things that we needed to learn. That part of our life has moved on. So it's like writing a letter to
Absolutely.
your younger self, trying to tell that your younger self, like, this is what you should have did, but that time frame is gone by. So what we
Mhm.
think we know, we don't know, and then when we learn it, life has already passed us by, and all we can do is pass that wisdom on to the next person, so they won't be a fool while they on playing the game of life.
Right. Jen,
I love
what do you
that.
think?
I love what he said there, Bobby, and I agree. It makes me think like we're constantly evolving. That people come into your life for seasons. The friends that you had back when you were younger, you may not have those friends, as you grow 10 years down the road. So you have to constantly, evolve and be ready for change. So,
To my way of I interpret is like you're supposed to learn the game. Now, if you
mhm,
don't work on learning the game and you just wait on it, by the time you get to know what's going on, everybody has moved on to something else. So I think the proverb kind of tries to tell us, like, hey, kind of don't waste time or procrastinate. Otherwise, you'll miss out on the good things that are out there. And I love the way you guys interpreted the proverb for the day. Thank you so much. So we'll jump into our story of the day. Bobby, can you take us back when you were first sentenced? What do you remember feeling at that moment when you were told of the sentence?
Of course, the backdrop of the crime is that when I was 16 years old, it was a group where I sold drugs on the drug set, and it was a group of people came over here on our drug set that we didn't know, and it was the type of neighborhood that you didn't come over there unless you lived over there, was coming to see somebody or
mhm,
something like that. It was one of them bad, real rough neighborhoods, and they just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it wasn't even a planned robbery. It was just an instantaneously robbery, unplanned and just impulse robbery. It was
mhm,
five people getting out of the car. And in Missouri, when you point a gun, you charge with everybody who was out there.
mhm,
And then, so I committed that robbery there. One guy was slightly grazed with a bullet. Nobody was seriously injured. Then I went around the corner 20 minutes later and committed another robbery, and I was caught in it. The person caught who was a carjack, basically. Then, so I went to trial. They offered me 30 years, which I didn't take. Went to
mhm,
trial, and ultimately I was given 241 years as
mhm.
a juvenile,
Wow.
given more time than any juvenile in Missouri for non-homicide. And you had to serve 85% of their sentence. So I'd have had to serve 211 years before I was eligible for parole. So when I was sentenced, to answer your question, I was shell shocked and numb,
Mhm,
uncertain of the future, and didn't think I would make it. But something in me was like, you will make it. I can't really explain. It was two feelings: one of total despair, and one of defiance, of resilience. Like somehow you're gonna get through it. And I got through it. That spirit that was with me right there that day carried me through in the back of my mind and my soul that I was gonna get through that tragedy, and somehow I turned it into a triumph.
I have a question on that. 241 years, because a lot of people, when they hear that, it's like, what what could have happened? Was it the judge that ultimately added it up? Because you talked about the 30 years before, and then suddenly changed to 241. Were there circumstances that changed between the time where you were offered the first option to the time when the sentencing was done to where they were like, now you have 241? Something happened in between?
No, from the time I got locked up to the time my trial was 12 months later. They offered
Uh-huh.
me 30 years. 30 years in Missouri, you got to serve 85%. So I'd
Right.
have had to do 25 ride flat.
Right.
And in my mind, at 16, I'm like, nobody got killed, no sex case, nothing terrible. It was a bad crime, but it wasn't life threatening. So why should a juvenile have to do 30 years when I'm seeing people that have murders and all these other charges getting 10 and 15 years? So I felt that I would take my chance with a jury instead of a judge, and I didn't take the plea, and that's what ultimately happened. On the other
And did you
hand,
have representation?
you had a public defender, which
Mm-hmm.
they overworked and over. They got too many. One person may have 150 cases, which he don't have time to work on. In fact, I didn't hear from my lawyer until a week before trial. He never answered my letters or phone calls or nothing because he was too overworked. I heard
Mm-hmm.
from him a week before trial. That's when he offered me the 30 years, and I didn't take it. The
Mm-hmm.
guy that I was locked up with, he was 18. He was an adult. He did take the plea 4 months after I got sentenced. They gave him 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the tragedy in that is that 2 years before he was due to go home, he died in prison on a K2 overdose on synthetic marijuana. So
Oh wow.
he had a chance to go home, but didn't make it, unfortunately. But never did I think that short mistake that me and him made would end up to me getting sentenced to die in prison and him ultimately dying in prison. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a terrible tragedy.
Okay. Okay. Because to me, I was like looking at it and saying maybe it was a bad day. The judge may have had a bad day, or the jury may have had something going on to where they add
Uh,
up that. Because normally when they
the
add those
jury,
stats, that's like somebody who does something really bad.
the jury recommended 30 years. It was up
Mm-hmm.
to
Uh-huh.
the judge to run it consecutive or concurrent, meaning running into one 30-year sentence or consecutive, stacking the charges. And that's what she did. She gave me 30 on this one, 15 here, 30 on that one, 15 on this one, 5 on this one, 10, 30. And also that's how it ended up 241 years. And the 1 year that they gave me some marijuana I had on me. So it was 240 years. Then I got caught with some marijuana and they added another year. I had the day I was arrested, when I the day I got locked up for this, I had weed on me and they gave me a year for that too. So
Mm-hmm. You talked about being hopeful and having a positive outlook. Can you share more about that? Um, with
well,
facing such a yeah.
the positive outlook, for the readers, I really would like y'all to read my autobiography and get a backdrop on what I'm talking about. The positivity come from, in my autobiography, I said this here. I started my biography off with my sentencing quoting what the judge told me I was going to die in prison, et cetera, et cetera. And then I did reflections, and I said that I reflected on my life, and I said, I wondered, as I sat in that cold cell, I wondered what how life had come to this point where at 16 years old my whole life is gone. How did it get to this point? Then I
Mm-hmm.
thought about my childhood poverty, and I thought about how we had to live without lights and gas and without food and water, living like in a third world country. We didn't have the basic essentials, but I survived that, and in surviving that childhood poverty, it allowed me to be able to survive 241 years. What I mean by that is that had I not been through that rough existence as a child, I wouldn't have been hardened enough. Um, I wouldn't have been hardened to the facts of life enough to accept a sentence like that. I wouldn't have been able to make it. But that rough childhood let me know I can face anything somehow. And then my mother, a
Mm-hmm.
lady who had her first child at 13, just showed me that it was something greater than um, than my current situation. It was an inner
Mhm.
strength that she possessed that I dug from. I borrowed it from her, and she taught me that her favorite saying to us is never give up. And
Mm-hmm.
I took that to heart, and I never gave up.
Yeah, that was a lot. We talk about personal changes that occur to you. You are a teenager getting into jail, and then you're incarcerated, and then you have to learn these things. There are things that you miss out. The prom, you miss out on, getting out and going for, like I said, prom and other things. Learning how to drive, all these little things that a teenager would experience going to college and all that. um, what personal changes or growth did you experience from your time in prison? Because you're moving into being a teenager into an adult?
Well, in prison, your growth is stunted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because prison ain't a place to grow; it's a place to digress for real. It's up to the individual. You have to have a willpower. Because the thing is, why would you want to grow when you never get out? You got 200 some years. It's like you want to stay stuck in the past because all you have in prison is childhood memories. That's all I can draw upon. I didn't have no memories of being an adult on the street. All I can draw back to is when I was prior to 16. So
Mm-hmm.
how I grew is that I had to peel back some layers and realize how did I come here and what do I need to change to never be in this predicament again. And not only that, how can I go out there and help the world change, and help people change? Because it wasn't just about me. Growth lets you know that the world's bigger than yourself and your own individual circumstance. So I couldn't just focus on my 241 years. I had to go back in history and
Mm-hmm.
study how did countries overcome oppression and overthrow oppressive governments. How did people that were suffering in wars, how did they get through that? How did whole countries get through that? So when I saw the bigger picture, I'm like, if whole countries can overcome this, my senses is my individual circumstances, but it's bigger than me. The world go through suffering. How did they overcome it? And I grab from stories, I grab from history, and it instilled in me that uh, we as human beings have willpower to overcome almost anything. It sounds cliche to some people when they're going through what they're going through because if I didn't have the strength, it'd sound cliche to me. But when you're studying history, you got something right in front of you to say the people overcame this power, military might, military power,
Mm-hmm.
sociological torture, all these things that people go through. You can get through this. And everything I'm saying is not an overnight process. I make it sound easy. It wasn't easy,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to tap into what I was reading and really apply it to my life.
Um, can
That's
I
a
can I ask something? Is this a follow up question? Do you
okay.
have any mentors that you would go to and kind of ask for guidance, or were you given guidance as a young man? With your underage as juvenile, were you given those
Uh,
so
the,
after you turn 18 and what have you?
well, the best guidance came from books, right? Because in prison, it's some knowledgeable guys in there, but you had a lot of predators too. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I was at the maximum security prison where everybody had 30 years or more. Nobody was going home, so uh, it was the predator versus prey, and
Mm-hmm.
young teenagers was prime suspects to be preyed upon. But fortunately, that I didn't have those problems because the guys, when you come to prison with a sentence like mine,
Mm-hmm.
it's already on the news and the newspapers that this guy got this
Mm-hmm.
time. So the guys in prison be waiting on people that they was gonna prey on. But when I came to the door, they already knew I was coming. It's like, look, man, you got more time than anybody. Go to the library, right? And that's exactly what I did. I took that advice, stayed in the library. I was in the law library trying to fight,
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn the law to get his time back. But in the process, the library, the law library is connected to the regular library, which
Mm-hmm.
led me to check out 3 books every week and read 3 books a week. And when I was reading all this stuff, it gave me hope. Where other guys sought comfort in drugs, comfort in all type
Mm-hmm.
of madness that goes on in prison, I stayed away from all that. Uh, it wasn't an overnight process because drugs are plentiful in prison like they is out here. And I stayed high too for the first few years. But
Mm-hmm.
even though I was high, I was reading books, I was studying. And ultimately, knowledge overcame, won the battle. And I turned to knowledge, turned to healing and saving myself. And ultimately, that's what led to the transformation and the redemption of the man I became.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's a really mature way of looking at it. Reading history and saying if they can go through these things and I can go through this. Like, was this a certain turning point that the maturity or caught up with you to even just be on that mindset?
It's crazy. The turning point always come about through rebellion, right?
Mhm,
When you got uh, people like me, I was hard headed. I broke every rule in prison.
mhm,
So I stayed in solitary confinement. That's the punishment. When you do something else, you break the rules, they send you to solitary confinement. And it's meant to break a human being. It's mental torture, right? But um, I'm already an introvert. So being by myself was what I needed. It was the healing that I needed. And when I was reading those books, I didn't just read to pass time. I read and I took the stuff in, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you read about history, it's real, it's not fiction. So when I read about these, my ancestors in particular, the things that we went through coming over here, coming over here in America, dealing with what we dealt with. Uh, I can read about people in Europe, people that were suppressed. I read about everything when America came over from Britain. All these things you just take pieces of and integrate it into your own struggle. And even though it can't compare to what you're going through in time, but it's historic. It's historical that people overcame these things. So you find strength in history, and most of us abandon history. But another proverb say, "How can you know where you're going if you don't know where you came from?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that every one of us come from something, and the struggles that we went through formed us into who we are today. And you can find a purpose in your struggle and your suffering, then it doesn't it doesn't torture you as much because you know it's a purpose in everything you're going through. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't bring much comfort when you got 241 years. Not only the 241 years, you're around prison, madness all day, rapes,
Right.
violence, stabbings, robberies, all this going on in prison all day because if these guys never get out, what do they have to lose? You can't punish them no more. They never going home.
Mm-hmm.
So I was around the worst of the worst, and in that environment, that dark environment, is why I seen the light, and I said, man, I don't want to live like this no more. I don't want to spend my life here for one, and then I don't want to think like these dudes around me in prison. Think I don't want to become prison. I want to become life. I want to become
Right.
hope. But how can you have hope when you're never going home? So I had to preach to the choir for years, meaning that all this positive stuff I'm talking right now, I was saying it when I was never getting out. Some guys didn't want to hear it. They like, bro, you saying all this positive stuff, but you never getting out. I'm like, bro, I am getting out. And it wasn't until it became real that everything I was saying was real. But by then, they didn't take all them years of knowledge I was trying to give them because I was just talking because I was stuck in there
Mm-hmm.
with them. That's the problem with that. What you saying again about that proverb? The fool doesn't see how the game is played until it's over with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me getting out of prison, I had nothing but pen and paper. I had no political ties. I had no influential family members. We didn't have money or nothing. I didn't have no resources. I had a
Mm-hmm.
pen and paper. I was writing thousands of letters, and that's how I ultimately got out of prison. But when I was writing those letters, I got hundreds of return senders, years of people
Oh
not responding
wow.
back. But I'm trying to tell these guys in prison around me, like, look, this is how I'm gonna get out, man. People gonna see the injustice of my situation and come and help me get out. They're like, man, people been saying that for decades. Nobody got out. So what makes you think you're gonna get out? I was playing right in front of them on how I was gonna do it. They didn't see it until it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Like the train had flew past. So if I put in 15 years of work to get out, they had to start all over again. And by then, they trained that game of life and already went past them, as that proverb was saying. You try to
Mm-hmm.
teach the fool, but he don't want to hear it until it already passed them by. So now they got to start back 15 years of what I was telling them back then on how it possibly can be done, on how we can possibly get out this situation.
Okay. I think that's perfect for your next question, Sambaza.
Yeah. But before we get there, I want to say hello to the guys who are showing up today. Anyone who's online, we're on so, we're on StreamYard, YouTube, and Clubhouse and Substack. So anywhere where you can reach us, thank you for showing up. We really appreciate that. Ed Campbell, thank you. He says, "Peace, family. Welcome to the show, and we're glad to have you here." Um, Now, something you just said before I move to my question, and it kind of ties to a movie that I watched, a documentary I watched about Angola prison, the one in New Orleans, where the worst prisoners go there, and they were tying it down to some of the people who are there. I think you're right when you said there's some of the people who know exactly that they're not going to get out, and you come in there and you have the hope, and your case looks like it's solid, right? Even though the years were there, they kind of have to try and get you to understand that it's not going to work, but yours looks like, it- there was hope, and you also had, some type of resilience, and hope that it's there, that you're going to move out. And I think that's what propelled you and makes them look like, okay, fine, we were also there, like we've been there, we've been through there. We've seen a lot of camps going through and saying that they're going to leave within the next 7 years, and then they're still there 7 years and 10 years. And if you know, a lot of people know about Angola, when you go there, you're not coming out. Most of the time, you're not coming out. So it's practically, yeah, you're if you're living out there, you're living out in a coffin, and not even in a coffin. You're going to live and go somewhere in a farm. But we appreciate that, and that's a lot of resilience, my brother. I'm happy for you that you did that and stood with whatever was there. Now, my question was, that first day of freedom when you walked out. I know there's a video about it, when you kind of the gates open and you start walking out of prison. And I think the first person you hugged was the judge, who was kind of fighting for your for your time to get out. I don't know if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong with that. But what was it like when you walked out of there with that fresh air and everything? Just tell us the feeling.
Oh yeah, the feeling was unbelievable, man. To walk out of prison after 27 years. Not only that, with every step that the way Missouri law is, it's a very conservative state. You never was supposed to walk free again, right? Uh, it was like that was, you knew it was a miracle, right? You knew that it was it was something divine happening right during that moment, right? That you was actually free. You was getting out of prison. It's like that's victory in all the work that you do. That it can happen for anybody if they just never give up on their hopes and dreams.
I saw that step when you're walking out, man. You had that,
Yeah, that was that. That was that step right
man.
there. Yeah, that was that. What you just
Yeah,
described.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, man, like I'm free. I can't believe. I
Mm-hmm.
believe it because it was
Right.
long overdue, but it's happening. Like I'm free. Dreams come true. So,
Hmm.
Absolutely.
What did you have for your first meal? If you wanted, yeah, I want to curious.
I don't eat meat. I stopped eating meat 27
Oh,
years ago. So
Hmm.
it was a vegetarian taco.
Okay.
oh, okay. That's what's up. That's what's up. Now let's go back to the comments here. Ed says, "Salute to your resilience. Um, who are three of your favorite leaders?"
All right,
And
first,
also, let's go with first. Who are three of your favorite leaders? And then I'll ask you the next question.
all right, three of my favorite leaders. Malcolm X is my first leader because of his similarities coming from the street and changed his life the way he did.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
on a spiritual level, uh, it would be for me. It'll be it'll be three of my favorite leaders throughout history.
Hmm.
It's too many of them to name, right? I don't want to name the ones that everybody else will name. So I would say Malcolm X, uh, Nelson Mandela, and another guy by the name. Well, I wouldn't. He necessarily may not be a leader, but he a thought leader.
Hmm.
Napoleon Hill had a book called Think and Grow Rich, which is
Hmm.
Okay.
considered the greatest self-help book there is. Right?
Hmm.
That's on a secular level where it ain't just spirituality in the whole book. But Napoleon Hill, that book Think and Grow Rich, I read it three or four times a year every year. It's a section in that book that says that you can change the word think. I mean, rich and put any other word. So I would think about think and grow free, right? The book is sort of like alchemy, like taking something out of nothing, making something from nothing. Just
Hmm.
a thought, and then you form it to something. That's how that think and grow rich. The philosophy of it, right? Like just take this piece of rock and make it into some gold, right? I mean, you
Okay.
just trying to you broke, but you thinking on how you gonna get money, and then you write a plan and make it come into existence. So I changed that word rich into freedom, like how I was gonna think and grow free,
Hmm.
and it had to be possible because the format he gave for it, anything was possible if you want to achieve it.
Right.
like, okay, I'm achieving. The thing about this, what we're talking about, is that when you have this, the thing about, if you want to go to biblical terms about faith, right? When you have no
Mhm.
proof whatsoever, I had no proof I was getting out. I had nothing. I'm talking about, like, you know how if you have an example in front of you or a blueprint in front of you, then you can say, I'm gonna follow it every time to do it. But when you have
Right.
no example, no blueprint, you got to create your own lane and your own thing. And it's like, how can you do it when you don't have the resources? You don't have the means to do it, but you got to be a thinker. Think and grow rich. Think and grow free. How you gonna do this? And I plan and plan and plan, worked and worked and worked with no. When you working, you don't have, you don't see the results sometimes. Like you just working and there's no results. That payday is coming Friday. You don't even know if you won't ever get
Mm.
paid. You're just working.
Right.
So
It sounds
that's the
like the
type of,
example of faith, really, things
yeah, the
that
substance,
your eyes can't see. And yeah.
yeah, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right.
Yes.
Right.
It couldn't be seen because everything I tried to file to get out, they denied it. Every way I tried to get out, they shut every door. So
Mm-hmm.
I had no evidence of things seen. The only evidence was I wasn't getting out. I mean, they made that clear
Mm-hmm.
over year
Right.
after year after year. You were not getting out, but I had a hope somewhere, something that it was gonna happen, right? And that thing drove me. It kept me going, despite denials, despite years in solitary confinement. Sometimes,
Mm.
despite see, solitary confinement, it's not a pretty thing. It's not what people
Mm-hmm.
think it is. It's like as a form of punishment, a prison next door may be kicking on the door or flooding the cell, so they'll turn on the heat when it's 100 degrees outside. They'll turn on the air when it's 10 degrees outside. So this is how you suffering through all this chaos, people screaming all day, hollering. Your celly might be one-on-one screaming, hollering while you stuck in the cell with them and can't leave out of there. This is the type of suffering you go through in prison, right?
Right.
But it's still the will of the person to overcome any barriers or anything that's holding them back, and that's what I had to do.
Mm.
So it wasn't an ordinary thing. It was extraordinary to overcome such a
That
thing.
sounds
But
that sounds tough. And Ed asked this question: what was your most difficult challenge in your transition back into society?
Ed, whether you believe it or not, this was the easiest thing in my life, transitioning back, because this is what all I dreamed of for 27 years. I had nothing hard out here to transition back to. It was beautiful out here when people can wave at you, and
Mm-hmm.
you go outside, little kids waving at you, and it's like, damn, you human again. And none of that stripped from you. I go to the restaurant, the waiter saying, "Can I take your order?" In prisons, it's
Mm.
cuff up, Mr. Bostic. Turn around, put the handcuffs on. Let's go to solitary confinement because you didn't eat fast enough. Out here, I got people like, "Hey, can I get you some more water?" "Hey, how you doing, sir?" And it's like, damn, this is what life is like on this side. So it was beautiful. It was nothing hard. The hardest thing about being in prison, my hardest episode ever was losing my mother at the age of 42. She had died
Mm.
of cancer.
Oh.
She's 42. I was 21, and that was the hardest thing ever for me. And that's how I became a writer, a book writer. Is that I wanted her to be remembered, so I wrote her life story. It's my first book called Dear Mama, and it's a tribute to all women, mothers, especially single mothers. And also, it's a warning to kids that they need to appreciate their mother because once they gone, it's over. And also, in that book, wanted to let mothers know we salute y'all, we thank y'all for all that y'all do, and forgive us for our not listening, our harm that we do.
Well,
Oh, okay.
condolences to you, Mr. Bostic, on the passing of your mother.
Huh?
Oh, condolences to you, sir.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then when you're in prison, you never get to go to a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to watch her funeral on a VHS tape.
Oh,
But
wow.
when I looked at that casket and saw her, I saw a tower of strength right then and there. And it was like she was talking to me like, boy, keep going, get out of there. And she had
Mm.
told me that one day too. I wrote her a letter quoting the song "Dear Mama" by Tupac,
Mm-hmm.
because that was I used to listen to that song with her, play it for her when I was on the street, and I was quoting that verse of that song and said, "There's no way I can pay you back." And she said, "The only way you can ever pay me back is to prove that judge wrong and get out of prison." and I'm out.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So I still don't feel like I'm pay her back, but I'm out. I got free. So she the one who believed in that more than anybody. The greatest prayer warrior for me, and the person who believed in my freedom, and now I'm free. So
That's amazing. That's
So
really amazing.
I'm looking at this thing where you said it was easy to get back into society. But Bobby, things have changed. When you went in, the phone was still that, maybe it was that big phone. Right now, you were on, just now, we were having this issue on the phones where we're trying to get you connected. And, you got to have to navigate some of these things. There's FaceTiming, it wasn't
oh
there.
yeah,
All
I
the
had
other
to ask.
things, yeah, all those things. I think that's what Ed was trying to say. Like when you left, because I
Oh,
think you took a picture in time when you left. Like maybe there was no things that you remember. Like I'm taking it. It's like a snapshot of time where you had left behind. Then when you get out, you have this new
okay,
world
yeah.
that
For
you are seeing. That's very different. Then you
for
have to change this.
Okay.
Waking up.
as far as that, Ed, yeah, I kind of glossed over that part, Ed. When I was in prison, when I went to prison, we didn't have cell phones. The internet wasn't even out yet. I got locked up in '95, so we had none of that stuff. I never had a cell phone in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So this me getting out was this the first time I ever used a cell phone. And just now, when I was trying to get on this call, I had to ask the lady how to use my not. I'm still learning technology. I don't even know how to turn on the do not disturb button. So on these phones, so all this stuff I'm still learning. But that's a great joy when I can come
Absolutely.
home after
It's
27
nice.
years, and then my great niece and them, they took great pleasure in that, like showing me how to set up an email, cash app, and showing me how to use the phone. They like, damn, that was our bond. And like they 10 years old. I left the street. They wouldn't. Their mothers was 5 and 4, 3 years old when I went to the prison. So for these little kids to teach me how to use the phone, that was our bonding moment. They like, damn, we can teach him something. That was like, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
Uncle, you don't know how to do that, and they taught me all these things. And they like, that was a great joy too for kids to be able to teach me how to do simple things. And oh yeah, the like Lexi or something. I'm riding in the car and my brother say, Lexi, do this, and Lexi will respond, or I jump out of my seat. He laughing. I'm like, man, who was that, man? He like, man, that's the computer, man. I'm like, damn, man, that scared the heck out of me, right? Uh, Hearing this woman, it's me and him riding in the car, and she talking back to him. I'm like, man, that was shocking. Them little things there, but
Mm-hmm.
when I look back on it, it was good that technology had to not scare me, but I had to, like you can run your hand under the faucet and the water run. You go to the restaurant and put the cup under it and stuff started pouring out. All that stuff scared me, but it was good. It was a good scare. It was a funny scare to everybody that was around
Mm-hmm.
me. And I don't know. For some people, it was like the dinosaur coming back to the new ages because people was laughing, watching like how you gonna adjust to this, adjust to that, and it
Right.
was more of a human thing, not a sad thing. It was a beauty. Like man, he out. He didn't see these things, so let's watch how he reacts to all these things that he didn't see.
Now, Mr. Bostic, you mentioned the judge who sentenced you. It is part of your story that the same judge later advocated for your release. Um, how did that impact you? Share about
That that was one of those unimaginable things because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that she would come back and have
that.
any regret whatsoever for sentencing me that time. But when she did, that's where the divine thing come in, where it's bigger than you as an individual, right? Because no man or nothing can make a judge. This is their life. This is what they do. She said she sentenced over 25,000 people, and my sentence was the only one she regretted, right? So
Mm,
for her to come back out of 25 other thousand people she sentenced, that's the miracle on how something divine, something bigger than you that made her or pushed her to come back. It was bigger than me, bigger than my cause that made her come back. And let me tell y'all about that. When she came back, it still took 4 years for me to get out after she came back. But
mm,
not only that, though, the way I ultimately got out is that they passed a law in my name in Missouri for juveniles, right? And the day that law passed, it allowed 700 juveniles to go for parole early. Over 200 of them are out right now, right?
Hmm.
So this is why I say it's bigger than me, because I didn't just get out. I was fighting for just me to get out, but ultimately it led to hundreds of other people getting out. So this is how a cause become bigger than you, and how God will use the situation. Some people
Absolutely.
don't believe in God and none of that, but in
Hmm.
this situation, it can't be denied that it was something bigger than me. It was God that when she came back, it not only got me out, it got hundreds of people out. But all this started with transformation, change, hope,
Hmm.
and this is what we can do as people when we see injustice around us and see anything wrong in the world. We can create a movement with our own actions, but people don't see that because it's hard to visualize. But
Hmm.
it's a lot that we can do to change other people's lives along with our own in the process.
And I just want to share about that law. So the Missouri statute legislator passed a law that allows juveniles who were not convicted of murder to be eligible for parole after they have served 15 years. So you had served 15 years. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
by the time the law had passed, I had already served 26 years, and
26.
then
Wow.
and then they gave me a year out date, and I got out after serving 27. But that was the only way that I was going to get out was through legislation,
Hmm.
and that never happens in Missouri. So never in my wildest dreams or nobody else that we think they would pass a law to let violent offenders out of prison. They don't do that in Missouri. So it's like that law is not going to pass how we felt. But this is how God works again. This is a Republican controlled state, and the Republicans, the ones who passed that bill, right?
Hmm.
So when it comes to politics, I don't get off into all that either, because
Hmm.
different sides, different policies or whatever. But ultimately, it's the Republicans that got me out of prison, and that's something
Hmm.
we never ever thought would happen in a state like this, but it did, and it allowed hundreds of people that's walking the street now behind that law. So her coming back played a great part in that law being passed, and that's a lot.
Oh, wow. Question: is the judge invited to the cookout now?
I talked to her yesterday. We still
Did
Oh,
talk.
you?
Yeah, I still go see her, check on her, go over
mhm.
there a lot. She stayed about 10 minutes from me, so that's
Oh,
another divine thing on how it's bigger than you, man, how God can do things, right? There was
Absolutely.
no use of feeling bitterness in prison. That wasn't gonna get me out of
Hmm.
prison.
wow.
Only thing I can do was look at what I had did, the mistakes I made, people I
Hmm.
harmed, and fought for
Wow.
change, starting with myself, and ultimately led to her coming back, seeing that change, coming back advocating for me, something that never happens generally. Them type of things don't ever
Mhm.
happen. So
Right.
it's a lot of miracles happening in this situation, man. The miracles
Yeah.
didn't affect me; it affected hundreds of people. So
Amen. Amen to that. Now, Ed says here, man, you are so powerful and inspirational about what you say. And this leads me to the next question, because you just said what you thought was only for you has become a bigger thing for other people. My question to you right now is, when you look at the juvenile offenders, what is normally misunderstood about them that you can think of or you can share?
that Brian Stevenson said it best: "We are not the worst thing we have ever done.
Hmm.
We ain't static as that crime we committed, man. Once we grow, we become whole different people. But the world can't see that. They can see the crime we committed, but they can never see the change. Like to change, we not getting a second chance. So that's the harsh thing, that we not giving a second chance once we
Hmm.
change. But no, once we do change, the world never can see that growth until these new laws pass. And in my situation, they had already passed a law for guys who had murdered. They was able to get out in Missouri, um, starting like 2016.
Hmm.
The law didn't pass in my name till
The
8 years later,
20. Okay.
2022. So
Hmm.
no, it was 6 years later. So 6 years later, when that law passed, that's when guys like me was able to get a chance. But they had already been given a second chance, and some of them had outdates and they went up for parole, but I was stuck even though I didn't commit a murder. So that all these injustices, it keeps you going no matter what. So I kept going, and it's like right now my fortitude to be able to focus. Like right now, I'm in a look. I'm in the airport, right? But we have an
Yeah.
inspirational interview where you can tune the world out, right? And I had to. That I'm a master at that because in prison it was all chaos going on around me,
Mm.
noise,
Mhm.
stupidity, and I had to tune all that out to focus on me reading books. So it's nothing for
Wow.
me to be in the airport to tune out everything that's going on. People may be looking, but we have an inspirational moment that wouldn't matter what's going on around us. We sharing something in the moment that um, even the interview feel divine because the knowledge that's being transformed amongst each other, it ain't gonna just live here in this moment doing this interview. It's recorded. So
Right.
people 5 years from now may watch this interview and learn something, a seed of hope that they needed. So that's the positivity about things like this. When you tune the world out and focus on what's at hand, and when you can do that with your goals in life, then you can overcome the obstacles that's in front of you.
That's really deep that you said that, it's natural for you to tune things out. I never thought about it that way. That's what you did in prison. Like, that's really kind of interesting because most people would be, oh, I'm overstimulated. It's, I can't focus. I can't, but yeah, that's interesting.
And you had to tone things out in that way.
And
Yeah.
what I noticed is that I'm going to refer to another case that was really tragic that happened in Texas. And this was for a juvenile. And in your case, this was a different scenario altogether. But the judge was showing some compassion because what happened was it was alleged that the boy was being bullied in school, and then took a gun that was his dad's, and then went to school and shot the boy. Now, according to the way the stories were, they had said that he came and shot him like he intended to, but then videos surfaced with all that information about what had gone on in class. He was being bullied, and there was video to show that. But what was quite interesting was he had to go to juvenile, the juvenile detention. But every, I think she had to come up to a judge, and this judge was very nice, and he would talk to him, like, tell him, give him hope and tell him just do what you're doing, keep going on, and you have good behavior, and he would talk to him like a human being, and like a child, and understand that yes, it was a crime, but then not it, it was not he did not go with the whatever had happened. No, he was treating him as a human being at that point, sentence notwithstanding, but just the fact that he was of good behavior and was behaving well, because he could have chosen to do other things while he was there. But that path was one that I really felt something for the boy. But I don't know how far it went with the case and what the sentencing was. I think we're still waiting to hear about that. But that's one thing that I think if we had more judges who would look at it that way and kind of
Mhm.
figure it out and try to be more positive to the kids, because you never know what they may turn to.
Mhm.
Maybe you are right now something that is a positive influence to them when they look at your books and look at the history behind it.
Yeah, one other thing too, the United States is the only country where kids can get life without parole, right?
Mhm.
Um, you know, this country, as far as sentencing, it's very harsh, and it shouldn't throw people away like that, but it does. Uh, but that's a response to so much crime going on. They feel like this is the only thing they can do to stop it.
Mm,
And this is what we're going through for us. That's why I try to, on the back end, I go around talking to kids, trying to keep them out of trouble so they won't do the same stuff. So we won't have to keep giving people that type of time that we can stop the kids from committing the crime in the first place. So the work
Mhm.
that I do is I got a nonprofit organization. I go around to the juvenile detention centers, teaching a writing workshop, teaching kids how to write job resumes, how to write business plans. So a lot of them are entrepreneurs, but they doing it through a criminal wrong way. So I try to get them positive ways to make money through a business plan I teach them how to write essays,
Mhm.
and I do this volunteer at the juvenile detention centers and things like that. And in my other work, I go into the schools, alternative schools, trying to teach kids violence prevention, positive thoughts, and stuff like that. And then I do giveaways twice a week, twice a month, bi-weekly in the city of St. Louis with free toys, clothes, shoes, and food to give people in poverty things that they don't have. So that's the work I do on a regular basis here in St. Louis.
Excellent. And I was going to ask you, Mr. Bostic, what's does the next chapter look like to you? You mentioned, giving back to the community, but what else is in store for you?
In store, the next thing, my ultimate goal is to land one of my books on Open Book Club because as an author, as a writer, when you see your books in print, just imagine, right? Here it is, you start off one piece of paper, one line, that first line, then you got a book. The book, my first book, Dear Mama, I wrote that in 2001. It didn't get published until 2020, so it took 19 years to get my first book published. So as a writer, I had to hold out hope on that. I wrote hundreds of letters on three fronts. I wrote hundreds of letters to get money for education because going to college in prison cost me $28,000, which I didn't have the money to afford. I wrote
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of letters till I found somebody who would pay for my college for free. People on the
Okay.
street, just concerned citizens, paid over $28,000 for my college. On the second front, I wrote thousands and thousands of letters trying to get my books
Mhm.
published, but I ultimately ended up self-publishing my books. On the
Mhm.
third front, I wrote thousands of letters trying to get attorneys to take my case free. It took
Mhm.
20 some years, but finally it got done where I had few attorneys, pro bono attorneys. So I wrote these letters. That's all I had was pen and paper. But as an author, to see your books um, in published when you just wrote this down,
Mhm.
to get out of prison, when you just dreamed of writing lawyers to get out, all this stuff happened through pen and paper. That's why I go teaching writing programs to youth because it's the power of the pen that got me free, and also that
Mhm.
also led me to getting the college degrees, writing my books, getting my books published. All that started with the pen, and the
Mhm.
pen was powerful enough to get me free and to accomplish my other dreams and goals.
Oh, nice.
Right.
I thought it was free when you're in prison and you say you're going to school. They actually pay
Right.
for it.
It's free now. Prior to '94, it was free. Then Joe Biden
Mhm.
and all the Democrats got together, passed a law that banned Pell Grants, and that law didn't
Mhm.
get overturned till 2000. Now 2022,
Mm.
where now education is colleges again in prison for free
Mhm.
Oh,
through the Pell Grants. But they had banned it for 20 some years though. So when
Oh
I
wow.
doing my incorporation, there was no Pell Grant, so I had to pay for college out of pocket.
Mhm.
oh. And you couldn't get work because I listened to an NPR radio program at one time, and they were talking about some prisoners actually have a job. They get a job and get paid. They don't do that, or they never did that on your where you're incorporated at.
Okay, the 13th, well, the 13th Amendment in the United States Constitution says that slavery is illegal in the United States unless someone who's been duly convicted of a crime, right? So in prison, you forced to work. Ain't no choice in the matter. You got to work.
Right.
Mm.
So much that the work for it, but because if I was working that much in prison, it would distract me from my goals and dreams. So I didn't
Mhm.
work. But technically, in prison, you got to work because the 13th Amendment says you got to work in prison. Slavery
Mhm.
is still legal in the United States when you've been convicted of a crime. So, like right now, you lose a lot of rights. I can't vote. Um, Even though I was 16, I could never vote before I went to prison. I can never vote again in my life according to the way things stand right now. So it's a lot of rights you lose too. But when you're free, you kind of don't let those things put a they don't put a cloud on your sunshine because you're free, so the sun is always shining no matter what.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Because there was a program that the program that said that you see you work for free, but this one was whereby you could actually work and get paid like somebody who's on the outside. And some people even have good jobs where you get paid, and then after that, you don't get
Uh,
the money. The money is
well, they got
transferred out to somebody else on the outside, and
Mhm.
they had some stipulation. Maybe it's not available to everybody else. And also, Jen, we're also talking about this voting. Did the
Mhm.
law change? Because there was a guy who came, the guy who came talk to us about prison sentencing. He he was fighting for it to be changed. Did they actually make the change
Are you talking about getting their rights back or?
when
to
they
vote?
answer that question in Missouri, when you're on parole, you can never vote.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
see, it's specific to the state. That brother was in from California, so the
Some
Oh,
laws are very different.
some states you can vote the moment you get out, right?
Mhm.
mm,
Rhode Island and Connecticut, one of those, them two states you still can vote while you. I
mm,
think it's those two states you can vote while you're still in prison. Those
right.
only states like that. Other states, once you convict, you can never vote.
Mhm.
Most states you can vote once you're off parole.
Ah,
I'm on life. I'm on lifetime parole. I'll never get off parole, so I can never vote.
oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know our bandwidth may be getting a little weak because you've been running a long time. We're almost to the conclusion. Sabazo, you want to address the chat?
Right. I am.
Okay.
Thank you
Uh,
for answering the questions thoroughly. And we're going to ask you to share your information, like what is your IG, the socials. I'm sure your nieces and nephews have taught you how to get onto IG, so you got them account TikTok and stuff like that.
oh yeah, I am putting all that in here. How you doing, bro? How you doing, bro?
Okay.
All right. I'm I, I think I got people walking up to me in the airport. I
Oh, they
waiting.
need your autograph. Hey, you got to
Don't
get them books out.
do St. Louis. So
Hey.
I'm putting it in the chat right now, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I
Uh,
probably could look it up. Actually, I know I sent
So
you a.
it's
Oh,
Free
look,
Bobby
you made a post.
Bostic on Instagram, and then on X is still the same, Free Bobby Bostic. All right, all right. So that's
yeah.
how we can reach you. All right, that's what's up.
All right, then I'm
Okay.
putting the websites and all that on it too.
Okay.
Please do.
Oh,
And
you know
then,
what? He put it in the private chat.
yeah,
Let me
hey,
copy that
It's a
over.
private chat. I thought it was a group chat.
nah, hey, you
Um,
got the special chat going on.
Oh, all right. Can y'all put that in the other chat then?
yes, I can. Let's see. Thank you for typing it there. I can just copy it over.
My
Let's see.
bad.
Oh, you're good.
No, 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 no.
Free Bobby Bostic on Instagram, freebobbybostic.com. All right.
Then these other websites my to my nonprofit and other stuff I got going on.
All right.
Okay, you have YouTube. All right. Okay. All right, we will be sure to follow and I shared the Amazon. We'll put the Amazon link out there. You have a couple books out on Amazon, so we definitely want to support you there.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And we're happy to have you. I want to say this was a special show. Um, the thing that I want to say this is I really appreciate the fact that you did reach out to us and ask us to be on the show and to have this conversation because um, we we are out here trying to relay good positive stuff to people out there and I'm glad it got to you and you were able to reach out to us and we're able to share this message with you. Thank you so much for the gem that
Yes.
you've given us and appreciate it. um, Guys, please go get the books, read the books, follow him on all the socials, and if you can, just go ahead and help out with that nonprofit in whatever way you can. Time, if it's time, coin, or anything else, whatever you can do. This is called because it's not every day that you see a miracle that happens
Absolutely.
about you. And when I tell people, they were shocked, about the time and how long you spent, and the the strength that you had in your heart to forgive, and you keep seeing this person over and over again to check on them. That is very, very special, and I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all for having me too, and thank y'all to the listeners for listening. Even those listeners that's not here with us today, we're gonna have listeners 5 years from now. They're gonna hear this
Absolutely.
podcast from the first time. So in 2029, 2030, when y'all do listen to this podcast, please gain strength from it. Keep following the movement. Keep following this
Mhm.
podcast for what they do. Woke by Jen. She waking people up with her podcast. The brother, we got the brother. We salute you too, the wisdom, the proverbs that you asked, and we appreciate that. I'm glad how
Mhm.
y'all merge these two things together, and it's going international, and that's a beautiful thing. And we need more podcasts like this promoting positivity. And matter of fact, even those who just say right now it ain't big as it can get, but when this podcast get bigger, we're gonna take them back to this episode and show them that this is what this podcast is doing. It's evolving, it's growing, and it hasn't reached its full potential yet. This podcast is gonna blow up and reach many people. It's gonna turn into a TV show one day. So we're gonna wake them up, Jen.
I appreciate that so much from your lips to God's ear. For
Thank you.
Definitely.
sure. Absolutely. Um, okay. Well, safe travels to you, Mr. Bostic. We will continue to support.
I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
All
All right.
right. Be safe, sir. All right.
All right, bye.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, that was excellent. So, about any final words?
And this was one of the greatest shows I've had so far, and I like the information that he gave us, and out of you know, just the resilience of the fact that he accomplished what he had to from where he started to where he is right now. Man, it takes heart. It takes heart.
Absolutely. In my mind, it's like the true example of faith, to continue to believe something will happen for you, even though it's not instant. It takes time, reminds me of in just, him recalling the positivity from his mother. It is inspiring, very inspiring. So I'm glad we were able to bring this show to you guys tonight.
Especially when when I was telling you about that Angola thing, they tell you when you get there, it's like they come and tell you live. You like right there. You think you're gonna get out? No, start looking at it. The only way you're gonna get out is either you're gonna be dead or and Jesus comes or something like that. But other than
Mhm.
that, no. Yeah. But Jen, thank you so much for this. This was really refreshing, and yeah,
All right.
we made
And
it. We're in the big league. We got
so
interviewed by Gail. Hey,
he
Gail
did.
King. Yeah,
That's
so
all.
hey, hey,
Right.
all right,
His explorations of reaching out to Oprah may not be that difficult since he's
all right.
already had FaceTime with Gail King.
There you
So
go.
Mr. Bostic has been on national news. So you will find some stories of him speaking with Gail King and other national news. So definitely we support the brother. All right. And so we
The
will get ready. Uh-huh.
Jen, the thing that I really want to have a conversation, if I had the chance, is to sit down and talk to the judge. Have that
Oh,
fun and stuff,
yeah.
like ask those questions. Maybe,
Okay,
maybe,
that's a
we,
thought.
maybe we need to- if we can have the judge have that conversation, and just to see what she felt, what touched her.
Mhm.
Because in the news they gloss over the things, but when I sit on a podcast, you have enough time to extrapolate and say exactly what
Mhm.
you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's a
would be
thought. I know we had a conversation about those organizations that work on people's cases, that are really instrumental in getting a lot of people out. So that's a thought. Put that
right.
on, put that on the list. Okay, we
Right.
will get ready to conclude our episode. We appreciate you guys joining us. We don't take it for granted. We appreciate you all so much. And we hope that today's conversation has been inspiring and enlightening for you. If you found today's episode meaningful, please consider sharing with family and friends and colleagues. You can share on the multiple platforms. And our collective awareness and advocacy play a crucial role in creating positive change. We invite you to stay tuned for more engaging content, and we look forward to continuing these important conversations in the future. So, for this episode, thank you again, and we will see you next time. Take care. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out. And also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms. And please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening and take care.